Welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Dingers podcast. It's been a little while. Doc and I are back. It is April 9th. We are coming to you today. And big news for Doc and I, for Scout the Statline. I'm kind of going to pass it off to you, Doc, to give everybody the lowdown on some of the changes that have been happening. And then we'll get into discussion about what that means for the show.
So Scout the Statline moving forward is going to be pretty much just the model. We're going to have our kind of affiliation with it, but we are joining Prospects Live. Most of the creative writing talent. You'll see guys like Lewis Analysis, I believe Owen Hurd, and some new faces jumping over to Prospects Live, and we're going to see what that means for us. They got a couple dynasty prospect kind of oriented podcasts, and we're like, this is going to be redundant, maybe, but I mean, we'll obviously be the best podcast wherever we go. We're not going anywhere, but we might go maybe focus a little bit more on like the bigs. What actually wins you now in Dynasty. The big leaguers, which is like, it's so funny. We have like this mental illness where we just want to go to like 30-man, the deepest prospect leagues imaginable. But realistically, like the majority of baseball fans and the majority of, 100% of fantasy championships are decided by major league statistics, folks. It's like, the minor leagues are fun. We're not going to abandon them, that's for sure. But we might just maybe step it up a notch, see what we can do for redraft and win now dynasty purposes. We're kind of fleshing it out. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, and you and I have had the opportunity over the last few days to have those conversations and kind of map out where we're going to go. And the big talking point that I think I want to give to the listener is just, we've already been doing this in a lot of ways, right? Yes, we touch on a lot of the minor leaguers. We touch on a lot of the deep minor leaguers, Kellen Moss, right? Guys similar to that range who are in
Joseph Sullivan.
Yep, Jesus Made, like DSL, who you don't love, but definitely have its purpose in Dynasty. And then we've talked about Victor Scott. We've talked about Casey Myers. We've talked about Ryan Weathers. So I don't foresee the show changing a lot in the value that you as the listener is going to get. Just the way that we will probably be structuring the show going forward will change a little bit. And it may come and go in different waves, right? Right now, you and I have talked about essentially doing a 5 to 10 minute closing of the episode, really diving into some of who's performing well in the minor leagues, right? We can come to the table with a list of names and say, hey, these are the guys to keep an eye on. If we love a couple of them, maybe we spend 2 minutes talking about that guy. But it won't necessarily be the 60 minutes, or I guess if you followed us now for the last year, hour and 45 minutes at times, of us really just talking about the minor leagues. We want to, like you said, really hit on what are the guys that we have followed for 3, 4, 5 years doing at the major leagues, and is there value there? I think if you looked at the names that we've talked about over the last year that are at the pro level, you and I had this conversation, we have hit on almost all of them. Sure, we're going to be wrong about some guys. We may miss a window on a guy or two. Victor Scott, right, came a year later in regards to his on-the-field production, and it's early. But we really want to help you have that value if you are attempting to win a championship, because if you're not and you're rebuilding, let's be honest, it could be a 10-year rebuild. I've been in, habitual rebuilding status. So we are very excited for this change. And from the listening audience, as we go through this, keep in contact with us, especially on X, right? If you want more, you want less, voice your opinion. We're happy to hear it, and we're happy to make some tweaks and some changes based off what you, the listener, wants.
At the end of the day, it's going to be you and it's going to be, Doc and Matt and Doc, just riffing, doing our thing, having killer guests. We've got some great guests lined up. We'll probably be wise to get some Prospect Live guys on the podcast, including Ross Jensen, kind of spearheaded this whole move.
It's funny, we talked about names right before we hit record today. If we need to do a rebrand, you and I are talking about that. We don't know. We're going to find out. I actually really like Doc Stingers, but it is kind of odd since I facilitate my role. I would take it in a minute. It's funny because it's a perfect name. So I'm not
Doc Stingers really featuring Matt Morris.
So we may end up making a few branding tweaks here and there, but Listen, I'll tell you,
Bro, if you're
it's on
willing
the
to do
table for
that,
me.
obviously I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm
But
open to it. So we'll have to see how that goes. But
bro, I haven't even talked about this. Speaking of Doc, pour one out for this is a take your best shot in Tombstone. Val
Mr. Val,
Kilmer
yeah,
no longer breathing oxygen.
yeah, sad. And I'll say I had actually thought he passed away a year or two ago, and it must have just been this continuous battle that he's had. Um, and it's sad, but he hung around for a while longer than I think a lot of us expected. So overall, great career. Hopefully he had a great life. A little too young, but
Yeah, I
what
mean,
an incredible actor.
an amazing career. He did a lot of things. Played Doc Holliday, and that's the relevance to me.
Doc Holliday, Top Gun,
Hmm.
Batman,
Hmm.
Heat. Am I missing anything huge? Like those are the ones that come to mind for me.
He's done a lot of things like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is like a low key, high key one.
Okay,
If
I've
you were
heard of
watching
it,
movies
probably
in
seen it.
2006, yeah. MacGruber,
What was that one?
MacGruber is Will Forte, and then Val Kilmer plays this evil villain. It's ridiculous. It's like a playoff of MacGyver, except it's
Okay,
Will Forte he's like, I'm here to kick ass and rip throats.
so
And he and
it's
he
a
ri- he
spoof.
rips he rips he rips people's throats out like and he'll rip the it's like an over the top anyway. And then Val
Like
Kilmer's
Roadhouse
characters,
style?
dude, it's just like it's just a satire. It's amazing. I'm
Okay,
not
I'm
even
gonna
gonna
have to
tell you
watch
anymore.
this.
You have to watch it. He builds the greatest team full of like WWE wrestlers. Like, all right, I got my team. Let's do this. We're finally gonna take them on, and then they all like blow up in an explosion, and it's his fault. He's like, "Ooh, that is not good." And then after this whole like 10-minute like montage of like building the team, they just die immediately.
That's
So
fantastic. It's sad. That's
yeah, I
sad,
didn't I
but
didn't
I
actually
know.
believe you were gonna watch it, so I did reveal that. I wasn't gonna tell you that part, but
As long as it's on
uh,
a streaming service and I don't have to rent it, I would be open to watching it and
you're
even
not gonna get
ruining
this
it.
kind of you're not gonna get this kind of banter on any other podcasts.
No,
Um,
people are thinking now when we're talking about like making this next transition, we've gone fully into like movie reviews and talking about just media content. They're like, oh well, I guess my favorite fantasy baseball podcast really has gone by the wayside.
jump the shark.
All right, well, let's jump into it. We're gonna go kind of free flow today. It's been a couple, I'd say about 2 weeks maybe since we jumped on, maybe 10 days. And a lot has happened, right? We talked about Kyron Williams right before we hit record as well today. Another home run today. I think he had a double dong today, right? He had 2 home runs
Kyron
just today.
Paris.
Kyron Paris, thank you. Was it 2 home runs today?
He's got two so far.
Yeah.
They're
So
still playing.
one of the big names and one of the guys that I think I can be completely honest about wasn't really looking for much impact for him coming into the season. Minor league numbers a little bit sporadic. He's off to a really hot start, and I think to kind of kick things off, I want to ask you, not necessarily is this sustainable, because I think that's an obvious no, but are you putting him now into comfortable starting position in deeper leagues?
Kyron Paris.
Correct.
I mean, this is something. Of course, this exact pace isn't sustainable, but he's not old. He's 23. He's like I've seen 6 foot. I've seen 5'11", 180. He's just kind of like like just a normal, good baseball frame. I remember looking through his numbers in the minor leagues. Like spring training, he was doing well. We've got 4 stolen bases, 2 home runs, 24 games. And let's take a look real quick at his minor league statistics here. Um, I mean, so last year, it was actually terrible. It was terrible last
Yeah.
year.
No,
Just when
not
I
consistent.
saw something that was okay. Yeah, that's what it was. So I saw at the year before that, Double A Rocket City Trash Pandas, 14 home runs, 44 stolen bases, and a 393 OBP. And actually, it seems like every year he actually had a really good OBP other than last year. He's able to take a walk. And that was what was interesting to me. He's not just like your typical toolsy guy without any semblance of a hit tool. I'll tell you, looking at his Savant page, it's a little concerning that his EVs and his his whiff percentage, they're not great. But it's a very strange profile. He is taking a lot of walks. He does have a great sprint speed. I mean, this is looking like a guy, like in a really interesting one because he's not like a Brenton Doyle even. Like
Sure.
he can take a walk. So I don't know if I care about the whiffing as long as he can take that walk. And I don't know how he's hitting home runs because it says his launch angle sweet spot's awful and his EVs are low. He just must be pull. Yeah, he's. I mean, one of them straightaway center. I'm looking at his spray chart. I don't know, dude. This is a weird guy, but I'm definitely paying. You can't get him now because he's been picked up everywhere, and you don't want to trade for him at this point. I don't think. But he's a guy. If you have him, hold on. Definitely start him. I'm starting him in like a relatively shallow league that we're in, that Yahoo Keeper League. That's the only league I think I have him in, which is frustrating. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and second base has been kind of a wasteland, right? As it normally is. Even some of the guys that we like coming into the year, Jackson Holiday, haven't really lived up to hype. Nico Horner, who had a pretty good price tag on him because of the uncertainty, has also come out of the gate pretty hot. But Paris is definitely facilitating a role right now. I think, looking at just his numbers from tonight's game, first home run was 103 off the bat, 16 of 30 parks would have been a home run in. So can't really knock him on that one, but they are playing down in Florida at Steinbrenner Jr. Field, right? And then second home run was a bit more of a shot. I'm still scrolling here. Actually, exactly the same 102.3. He had a 108 off the bat today that did not end up in a home run, but the second home run was only a home run in 9 of 30 parks. So maybe the park helped out a little bit tonight. Either way, he's almost to the point where he's leading the league in home runs. I think now he's tied with some of the big boys. Very impressive. And, we're going to have to keep monitoring. And I think I bring him up to start because I wanted to ask you, right? This is kind of that bridge that we talked about in the intro about going into more major league focused. Paris is a guy that I didn't follow. I didn't care about. When asked preseason on other publications, I said no interest. And here he is, getting into the third week of the fantasy season, providing this great value. How much of this kind of performance makes you really look at the minor league projections that we create and say, well, how much matters?
I mean, it matters, but you have to be willing. Like, if a guy's been nothing, like a guy's been Davison de Los Santos,
Sure.
and I wonder how he's doing so far. Let's take a look at that. But Davison de Los Santos, like where you, or Estuary Ruiz, where you have like this track record of really scary kind of strikeouts and lack of plate discipline. It's the opposite of Paris here, where he's able, again, he's walking in the big leagues and he was walking in the minor leagues. So there was some indication. Now he had an off year. I think it's luxurious when you have many years of minor league statistics to go off of. It's almost trickier when you have this college guy coming in, going straight to the big leagues almost, right? It's like we don't actually know, right? Like who this guy is in professional baseball. And
Well,
De Los Santos.
I bring that up because I think
De Los
about
Santos is 3 walks to 18 strikeouts this year, so it's still happening.
not good. I bring it up because I think about Paris and the impact that a player like that has to our 30-man team or our 30-man leagues, 2 leagues, right? Where we look at Paris overall as a guy that is now returning great value to the teams that drafted him, and the importance of knowing organizational depth. Because I really don't think, unless you're an Angels fan or maybe a fan of the West Coast, that you would have pegged Paris as a guy that you'd be targeting outside of depth. And depth is important in deep dynasty leagues. It's important in 15-team roto leagues. But you really hit on this guy if you drafted him, I guess is my take. Like, it's a huge advantage for you if you took Paris in the minor league portion of one of our drafts, because as you just said, he's starting for you in a 10-man league. So of course he's starting for you and an asset in a 30-man dynasty league, right?
Yeah, I'm actually just putting an Ottoneu bid for him right now. Man, it's so hard playing on different platforms. It's actually not that hard for me these days
Which
to
platform is this?
Ottoneu they call it.
No idea. What
It's
is
made
that?
by Fangraphs.
Okay.
Yeah, man, it's so hard. Like all the different having the different platforms. I could do like 20 Fantrax leagues. I'd figure it out, but Jesus, the fact that I'm like going to all these different websites, that's what's killing me the most.
Okay, so in our categories league, Paris was drafted drafted in the 55th round, pick 6.
Nice.
Just take a guess who picked him. Out of 30
I've
teams. Wasn't me or you. So 28.
I have no idea.
Ross picked him.
Ross, that's hilarious.
If there's a better shout out to the owner, it's the Kyron Paris conversation that we're having right now. And again, massive steal. And I think when we're talking about him and his value and his return in dynasty, but also in redraft, it's like there's that direct correlation if you can identify these guys, even if they're depth pieces.
Mhm. Ross has obviously been on this guy. We have a prospects only league, and he's got him there too.
He
Like it's
drafted him in both leagues,
y-
53rd round
yeah.
in the points league. Okay, enough about Kyron Paris. Next on the slate I have for you today is the first base breakout or reemergence. 3 names come to mind. If you want to add any to this little grouping, please do. Spencer Torkelson completely changed his approach, at least from the games that I've watched, and I've watched a lot of Tiger games, more than I think I like this season. Tyler Soderstrom absolutely coming out of the gates, scorching hot for the A's, and playing in Sacramento is, oh my, potentially a historic type of field and environment. And then Kyle Manzardo. I'm going to put Manzardo in there, even though he doesn't have first base eligibility everywhere yet. It looks like he will gain that throughout the season. He's played a couple games, started a couple games at first already. So these 3 first basemen, there was, some excitement for Soderstrom coming into the year. Some real questions about the long-term value of Torkelson and what happens there. Is he even going to play 50 games? And then, we have the Manzardo, which I know you were higher on Manzardo than a lot of people coming into the year, but where are you at now after their start to the season, and how would you rank these 3 in regards to who you'd rather own in
I,
really any format?
I think there's like upside to all 3. It's not like people before the season started were talking about guys like this, and then like Michael Toglia, and I was like, nah, forget about Toglia. Like
Yeah.
that's just not happen. And like I haven't really said anything about that because I'm not, again, like victory laps are for kids. It's like this is a human being, dude. Like I'm not sitting here like, oh, Toglia's bad at baseball. First of all, way better than me at baseball. And he's like, the dream's still possible, but yeah, just as of right now, if we're talking about like as commodities for our game, Toglia is not a thing for
He's
me.
batting 150. Tonight's game against
Mhm.
Milwaukee, he's batting in the 8 hole.
Yeah,
So
it's not
yeah.
great.
So yeah, keep
So
going.
Torque's still got a 32%, rounded up to a 33% K rate. So he's not like out of the woods. And 99th percentile launch angle sweet spot. Interesting. But he's doing a lot of the things right. He doesn't have to be like he's got the kind of ability where if he can run a 30% K rate. Bryce Harper got a home run. Nice. Good. Spencer Torkelson, though, yeah, it's like I think he's doing everything he needs to do right now, and he's got the pedigree. I like pedigree. He's a former, like he was supposed to be a can't miss first overall pick. Maybe he's not going to be like I don't know the world beater, but he doesn't have to. He can get by with like a 30% K rate and still get to 30 bombs. Maybe it's a 230 average, 320 OBP. That's plays. Maybe he's like a Christian Walker. Like really good, really good fantasy bat to have. Yeah, he's going to have his limits in certain ratios, but yeah, I think it plays. Soderstrom, I'm not sure what to make of him. He's his ratios, or sorry, his Savant page looks a little better actually than Torx, but yeah, I mean, how much of this is the park, and does it matter for fantasy? Like yeah, if he's going to play there, then great. That's part of the breakout appeal. And there's some talk that he'll get some reps at catcher. Some leagues he still has catcher eligibility, which is really interesting. And then Kyle Manzardo, it's funny. He seems like the safest guy to me. but maybe that's the problem. Will he be able to get? He doesn't have that like kind of freakish power. He's just kind of like a doubles guy, and when he's in the zone, taking his walks, not making poor plate decisions, he'll turn those doubles into home runs. And so we'll see what happens. It's going to be a long year. I actually still like Manzardo the best out of the three, although you can tell that I think a lot of people are fully on board the Soderstrom and especially I think Soderstrom is the public's favorite guy out of those three right now. Would you agree?
I would. And just from the metrics that you kind of brought up, he has the best Savant page. And then it's Torque, and then Manzardo. And I only say Torque because Manzardo does a great job with the walk rate, 26.8% K rate, so not great, and that'll go down. I think that will go down for Manzardo and for Torque. I think Manzardo is the safest, though. I mean, his 3 home runs have all come off at lefties. He had one today. He just missed a home run today to dead center. It's colder than ice in Cleveland right now. And that we've known that the Indians, the White Sox, like in April, it just sucks. It saps a lot of these guys' power. But same thing for Detroit a lot of the time. But then you have the opposite of Soderstrom, where he's playing in the environment. And his exit velocities have slowly ticked down. Just a few days ago, it was at 94 point something. Now it's at 92 point something. So again, it's short sample, but Soderstrom is definitely the industry favorite right now. And it's easy to see because he's off to a torrid start.
Yeah, no, I didn't get him. I didn't really get him in a ton of places, but I got him in a couple places. Soderstrom. It's funny. I wasn't really in on him, but for some reason, like no one was buying in, and so I just accidentally picked up a couple shares of that. I was not really in on Torkelson at all. I don't think anyone was, other than Ross Jensen again. It's just Ross has been hitting, I guess, lately. Although I did have to fight tooth and nail to get Victor Scott on our co-managed squad on CBS. And I'm glad that he said, Doc, come on, this isn't going to happen. That's how it started, and it ended with VS2 on our squad. So
I want to get to VS2 and next. I'm going to put him in kind of the outfield classification. So we'll give him his flowers in a minute. But I wanted to ask you before we get to some of the Cardinals is kind of the prospect blend here. Nick Kurtz off to an incredible start, another home run today. He's up to 6 now in 48 total plate appearances. Averages out of this world, OPS out of this world, slugs out of the, he's killing AAA. Now, would you make offers for Kurtz in redraft? We'll go redraft first and then dynasty. So it's a 2-parter. Would you offer up Torque, Soderstrom, Manzardo for Kurtz if it's redraft? And would you go ahead and be targeting / trading those guys plus, because it will take plus in dynasty?
You know what? Like this is where it gets actually way more fun and interesting to talk about the redraft aspect. Because dynasty, it's easy.
Easy, but we don't know when he comes up, right?
Yeah, for redraft, like that is where it gets interesting. And I was actually on Tim Kanak's podcast last night, cheating on you, and we were looking at this exact situation. And I was looking at the A's depth chart. They got Miguel Andujar out there in left, and I'm like, brother, put Rooker out there in the left, get Miguel Andujar packing, learning to speak Siberian, and then put Kurtz as the DH. Whatever you have to do to get Soderstrom, Rooker, and Kurtz. Never mind Lawrence Butler, but I'm just thinking of the big sluggers, right? Oh, Butler's kind of this well-rounded kind of dude, but just like you're gonna have so much power, so much fun. You need, I guess, one of them could learn how to pitch. That'd be useful, but
well, my thought too,
like get this guy up here,
blended in, and I haven't really heard this talked about because I just don't think people have ever really thought about taking a former catcher who's now a first baseman and plug him into the outfield right away. But Soderstrom's a pretty athletic guy. Out of the Kurtz, Rooker, Soderstrom group, I think I would actually rather send Soderstrom out there, give Kurtz the job at first, keep Rooker at DH until he's fully healthy, because I know there was some forearm issues and a surgery, and the talk was he just wasn't ready, isn't ready. But Soderstrom's a young kid. He should be able to take to the outfield, and even if not, the runs created by him and Kurtz will probably do better than that. And honestly, if O'Neal Cruz is playing center field, anybody can play outfield. Have you
A
seen
hot take.
any of his games? It's the worst defensive performance I've seen in any sport, including basketball. Like he just doesn't care. The amount of balls in just the 3 or 4 games I've watched where I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to cost them 20, 30, 40 runs this season, because he just has absolutely no idea how to play center field.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know I pivoted there because we're still on the A's, but I'm in agreement with you. Find a way to get Kurtz up. It could be Soderstrom. It could be Rooker. I just don't know where Rooker's health is at.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about the worst. That's a good play. So I'm seeing a couple nice plays. Okay, no, that's a very bad.
The one where he allowed the triple where he just doesn't care.
Oh my gosh, was that an Austin Wells triple?
It was
like
somebody,
it.
but that was the third one of the season that I saw.
No, it was
him.
Wells going from like first to the third. I was gonna say Austin Wells doesn't hit triples. No, what? That is Wells. Yeah, I think Wells got a triple.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. That's probably his last career triple. So yeah, that's not great. And then Jose Altuve hasn't looked great out there either.
I mean, I get it for
Houston.
Altuve. There's a lot of things working against him. He's a Hall of Fame second baseman. O'Neal Cruz, it's like stick him in right. But I guess the reason I bring O'Neal up is because, again, like, put the guys in the corner. If it's Rooker, maybe put him in right field. Transition Butler to left. Give him a little bit less ground to cover. Like, there is a way to make this happen where you get Kurtz to the majors. Only concern that I'm seeing within the numbers here for Kurtz: 25% strikeout rate, K percentage, 6% walk rate. Do you have any concerns that 25% might creep up to 30, 35 at the major leagues? And does it matter? Or is it kind of the same concept as Torkelson?
This is with Soderstrom?
Nick Kurtz, this is.
Sorry, Nick Kurtz. No, his eye's better. I think what we're starting to see with Kurtz is him understand how powerful he really is, and like learning to turn that patience into. It's what we've talked about in the show before, is like learn to not. Yeah, 500 OBP sounds fun. What's better? 400 OBP with 30
45 bombs. Yeah,
whatever. Sure. Yeah, or if you want to take that from like something, maybe you want a 420 OBP with 15 home runs, or do you want a 370 OBP or 350 OBP? Like, look at Kyle Schwarber, right?
Sure.
It's like, that's fine. So Nick Kurtz, I do have faith. Yeah, the only red flag with Nick Kurtz is like you pointed out, when he runs the bases, he looks like he doesn't look like an athlete. He looks like a weird dude. He looks like Tom Brady trying to move around.
Yeah, that's a great comp to Tom Brady, where it's just like, that's not the most athletic athlete I've ever seen.
But it works.
I mean, Tom Brady is
so far.
Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's transition into a little bit of the outfield here, right? Victor Scott off to an incredible start so far, at least from a lot of people's poo-pooing that we had coming into the year. And again, not necessarily need for a victory lap, but currently hitting 286, has a home run, 5 stolen bases. Really, what I've seen from the Cardinals games this season with him and Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn, now that Mason Wynn this past week has started to turn things on, really have helped this lineup put up some runs in that bottom half. And Scott seems to be the guy. Him and Walker play off each other really well. If it's not Scott getting the job done, it's Walker getting the job done. But Scott has had the better start to the season. And, we just talked about the numbers. What are your expectations now this season that we've at least seen the average there, the 5 steals, a little bit of pop, had a triple and a double just the other night. So, he is getting those extra base hits. Are you thinking that this may just be a fantasy winner, or are we kind of scaled back a little bit and just saying you're happy with him as a starter right now?
Well, Victor Scott, it's amazing how he became he was a punchline, right? People are like, oh,
Yeah.
remember when Victor Scott was going to be a thing? It's like, dude, this is not like fantasy football. This is not fantasy basketball. I don't like this is not bad sports. This is a good sport. And so patience actually still matters, right? And you can get redemption is still on the table. You can be 30 years old, you can be 35 years old, be Charlie Morton. Like, okay, that's like you just enter a whole new echelon in your career. But Victor Scott was already young. He had pretty good excuse, if you want to call it that. 66 games in Double A. They throw him into the big leagues when he's like not even really a hit first type of guy. And so, but yeah, I mean, he's doing everything he's doing more than he needed to do. Like he didn't need to hit home runs. He just needed to get on base enough where, okay, can you hit 250, 320, just like steal like 30, 40, 50 bases? Like, like just be a rabbit. We'll be fine with that. But he's doing more. He's showing some pop. He's showing like some actual ability to turn. Like you said, he hit a triple. He smashed a Paul Skeens fastball for a triple. Like this is not a joke. This guy is breaking out. I don't know what it's going to look like, but this is kind of interesting. The way it's going isn't like Kyron Paris, where he's hitting a home run every game, or like 10 steals in 10
Where
games.
he's hot. It's clearly hot. Yeah.
He's like doing it. He's like sustained. He's like consistently just playing well, and I'm like, that's actually like more exciting. Like, because I keep kind of waiting for these offers to start popping up. Today he went like 1 for 5, but he stole a base. But he's like he's not just going over. Like it's very fun, very interesting, and it's exciting time for the Cardinals. Like it's what we talked about before the season. They could be anything. They could be like the worst team in baseball, or they could sneak into playoffs. Like, and Nolan Arenado looks like he may have been hurt last year because his bat speed's up. He's looking like the old Arenado. What happens if Wilson Contreras remembers how to play baseball?
Yep.
He's just a dormant guy right now, but if he wakes up, watch out. So the team's looking interesting. If they can get enough out of their arms, I mean, they could make the playoffs. And if they do, Victor Scott, Jordan Walker are going to be massive parts of it.
Well, and you also have Ivan Herrera's,
I forgot. Now he's out for a month. Friggin'
yeah,
that was fun for a second.
Bad timing there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good talking the Cardinals. Next little pocket I want to talk about is actually some of the vets that were either underperforming coming into the year or having big time potential breakouts at the end of last year / last year in general. So I have 3 names for you. I just want to test where you are with maybe your concern or your optimism as to rest of season, which is basically 5.5 months. We have Lawrence Butler only has 1 home run to start the season. Jarren Duran has not played well. Came out just a couple days ago of his news in the Netflix 8-part series. Awesome. Go watch it. Read up about what he has dealt with and what he's dealing with, because I think good for the game, good for human beings to share what they've struggled with. And then the last name is Mike Trout. Duran and Trout are struggling. Trout's average is anemic, but he's still putting up numbers, at least fantasy relevant, where he's a useful asset. Out of these 3 guys, what do you think rest of season? And if you had to pick one to be targeting, who would you be picking?
Man, it's so tough to say. Like the sample size is so small right now that, like, here's the deal. I've said this, it's about the same kind of philosophy I have about spring training, which is like, if you're doing well, great. That's good. You want people to do well because maybe they keep doing well and then they have a great season. But if they're doing poorly, it's like, okay, well, if I believed in them before this small sample size, I'm not going to give up on them now. Like, some guy DM'd me, oh, should I be out on Bryce Miller after 2 starts? They're bad starts. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you didn't really believe in him to begin with, maybe that's enough of a red flag.
Yeah.
But if you are a guy who's like, Bryce Miller is going to be this total stud, look at this Arsenal, look at Seattle, they know what they're doing, and then 2 bad starts and you're jumping ship, that doesn't make any sense. So, frankly, it is a kind of a case-by-case situation. Interesting here. I'm noticing that Lawrence Butler actually doesn't have good sprint speed. He's actually kind of slow. Did you know that?
I didn't. I mean, I think I remember looking last year. It was like 68th percentile. What is he at this year?
28, and last year he was 58. And so that's interesting. I mean,
Maybe
CJ Abrams is not that bad, but he's surprisingly lower.
Maybe that's a pretty big drop, though. Maybe there's an injury.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, it's
like
also
that's a
small sample size.
it is,
But
and we talked about that, the exit velocities. Like it's just the numbers right now
yeah,
aren't great.
bat speed's still high. He's taking walks. Butler's looking pretty solid. I mean, I was pretty much believing in Jaron Duran as a full-on breakout. So, kind of curious what's going on over there. Taking a look under the hood here, his sprint speed's still high. I don't know, man. I'm seeing just kind of like I'm still seeing like pretty much what he's gonna do. I think he's having a little 50 at bat rough patch.
Yeah,
So I think Duran and Butler will be okay. Will be fine. I think that maybe people are thinking Butler's going to be this freakish, like 30-30 guy. Probably not. Probably, but maybe better. Maybe a better hitter than we're giving him credit for. And maybe
probably more 30, 15, 30, 15 to 80,
I
right?
mean, if
But
you're going
in
off
that
pure
ballpark,
speed, if you're going off pure speed, he actually shouldn't be stealing anywhere close to 20. He's not
yeah,
fast.
no. I
Like just
but I
even last year.
but I think he will. We'll see. I mean, even 58th percentile to your point with CJ Abrams. CJ Abrams, I still believe also was under 70 percentile, and look at him, he just knows how to steal bags, right? So
I think he's around 70 something. I think you just imagine. I remember I used to think CJ Abrams was just a burner, like 80, 90 percentile kind of guy. But anyway, point is, didn't you mention a third name in there?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout. Nah, I'm just out because of injuries, man. Like, I hope it works out because typically the
CJ
game when
CJ
Mhm.
this year is in the 80th percentile. So short sample, right? Um, but yeah, this is the hard thing, and we're going to talk about a couple minor league guys to finish the show today. But we're early in, and that's why some of the names we're talking about is, it's like we're talking about Mike Trout and Lawrence Butler. It's like, well, we have to have the conversation, right? That's important.
Mhm.
Let's transition over to pitcher. Also, just finding out the news that Justin Steele hit the IL elbow, expects it only to be a short-term stint. What do you think? Any concern?
Dude, I mean, I've been so busy this week, and yeah, I just remember. You're reminding me that yeah, Langford and Steele, like some of my favorite guys.
Yes.
Freeman, I got so many guys on the IL right now. This is the grind time, brother.
It's okay. Start with
So we'll
Steele,
see.
and then I'm going to ask you about Langford next. Everything looks good under the hood for Langford, but that's not where I want to go. So, what do you think about Steele in the elbow? Any issues?
I
Anything
just think
long
it's
term?
I think it's just so amazing that Steele consistently. I feel like the last few seasons he has missed he's missed chunks with shoulder and elbow serious sounding injuries, and he
He's like,
says he's
it's
aiming.
nothing.
Yeah, yeah, he seems to actually be like the one guy who just comes back and he's fine. So I actually believe him when he says that. So yeah, it's annoying though because I'm starting to wonder. I guess he's not going to be a durable workhorse. But hey, if you just never really if you bend but don't break, I guess we're good. We'll call it. We'll call
Just
it.
listen to this. Steele felt discomfort in his left elbow during the middle of Monday's start against the Rangers, but he remained in the game and threw a couple more scoreless innings, finishing the night with 8 strikeouts over 7 scoreless frames. Like,
Stud.
you read the start of this for any other pitcher, you're like, Tommy John, second opinion, definitely, it's over. Stays in the game, continues the
He's a
scoreless
tough
outing.
guy. I like Steele a lot. I think he's underrated.
Next name I wanted to ask you about, Mackenzie Gore, had an incredible, opening week with those 13 strikeouts. We've been kind of waiting for a true Mackenzie Gore breakout for a while. Again, short sample, but are you buying in this season on Mackenzie Gore?
I mean, it's a fun story. I do like him. He was top lefty prospect for a long time. And he's still just turned 26 years old. It's like with pitchers. Pitchers are guys where they can, yeah, like we said, Charlie Morton, 35 years old, breaking out basically. But realistically, it's not uncommon to see 26, 27, 28, 29-year-old breakouts. Steele was kind of one of those guys. He just kind of took a little longer, and so we'll see what's going to happen here. But yeah, Mackenzie Gore at 26, that's still pretty darn young. And I like what he's doing. I like what Max Meyer's doing.
He's the next
I
name. So let's go right into
nah
Meyer.
okay.
3 pretty good starts against Pittsburgh, 5 and 2/3, 1 run allowed, 1 walk, 7 Ks. Then faced Atlanta, 6 innings, 3 runs allowed, 2 walks, 8 Ks. So this past start against the Mets, 6 1/3, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Pretty darn good start. We liked him coming into the year. You just said you like him. If you were to, project, is this a guy that you're targeting in Dynasty? And what are your thoughts in redraft with the bad team?
Well, I mean, his slider was always filthy. The question was, can he, throw any other pitch? The answer appears right now to be yes. So he's coming back and he's showing good command, and he is, he's taking care of business. And Lance Brzezowski was in on him coming into this year, and that's like, it wasn't like that. Oh, now I'm paying attention. I was like kind of curious, and I saw that, and I'm like, interesting. I think he might have been big on Gore too. I don't know, but both these guys are 26 years old, but pretty similar, pretty close birthdays actually. So like early young 26-year-olds, and this could just be when they're figuring it out. It'll be a long year, but Washington needs an ace, and Miami is a pitching factory. So it'll be good to see what happens here. Oh man, like if people can stay healthy, which no one ever will, but Miami is going to be so good. Ryan Weathers will be back within a month, hopefully. It's exciting. If Marlins can ever just get any kind of like decent batting, any kind of lineup, it's amazing how there's some teams like this. Teams just like the A's have just no pitching, but the White Sox and Pirates and Marlins are just like these pitching factories that have no idea how to develop a bat. Hey guys, make trades together. That's the idea. That's what we do in fantasy sports.
That's the logical outcome. Another name before I kind of pass it to you, if you have any other pitchers you wanted to talk about, Nick Lodolo. I'm just going to bring him up. The profile isn't what I expected coming into the year. I expected if we were going to see continued success from Lodolo, it was going to be because of the volume strikeouts. And it's actually kind of been the opposite. It's been him limiting walks. He only has 1 walk on the year, limiting damage. Most hits he's given up in his start is 5. It's literally gone 5-4-3. This past start against the Giants, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, only 3 Ks, 4 Ks against Milwaukee, and then only 1 strikeout to start his season. Lodolo's doing really well in points leagues, doing well in categories, at least to keep your ratios balanced. What do you think Lodolo long term this season and then Dynasty? Are you looking to sell him or hold him?
I'd probably sell people who are trying to buy like off this start, but he needs to give us more innings. He needs to just prove that he can stay healthy for a full season in the bigs. And maybe this is like this reinvention of himself. If that's what we're seeing here, is what's happening. Maybe that's the way he does it. Maybe it comes at the cost of some strikeouts. Will he be as sexy of a fantasy buy? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, I'm less excited about him than Gore and than Mayer. But yeah, I mean, it could happen. Again, 27, fresh 27-year-old. He's former 7th overall pick. Don't like. I guess one of the biggest things I don't like that he's in Cincinnati, because like if he's off, it's gonna show up. Like
True.
he's not gonna be able to hide that.
Yeah, and it's early season. Ball isn't really starting to fly yet, right? It could turn around fast on him there. Taylor Malley, Casey Myers, both off to pretty nice starts. Malley didn't have a great start to his season, an inning and 2/3 against Boston, 4 walks, 1 earned run, 3 Ks. Then turned it around. 5 innings against Tampa, no runs, 1 hit, 2 walks, 5 Ks. And then this past start against Chicago, 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Malley appears to be fully back from Tommy John now. Are you picking him up as a streamer? Or are you picking him up as a guy that you want to keep as bench depth? Or are you
Yeah, I actually picked him up in one of our leagues because I've just been, as you can guess, I'm getting ravaged by injuries, and I wish I had been a little quicker in one of my other leagues. He's actually available in 2 more. So yeah, you can still pick him up in a lot of places for now. I gotta see where else I got steal because I think I have some pickups I have to make. Yeah, man, I'm definitely starting pitching can be very fickle and tricky to find in some leagues. So, a guy like Mally coming into his own, yeah, I'll bat him for the stream, and we'll see. One of those guys, right? Like a guy who has seen success before. Wouldn't be shocking to see him come back and do some damage. So it'll be an interesting ride. But yeah, it's a guy where you can pick him up and see what happens.
We just talked the other night as we were kind of catching up with the long, delay that we had with both of our lives. It's about Casey Maya's nice start to the year, 2 starts in Seattle and then New York. Has allowed 1 run, 3 walks in both starts, 6 strikeouts in both starts, 5 2/3, and then 6 innings against the Yankees. I obviously was a little more aggressive preseason with Casey Maya's, and it's too early to say, again, victory lap, but it looks good. I know that you haven't had a chance to really watch his starts, at least from our conversation, but are you in at least in the short amount in the data that we're seeing, or are you still going to give it some time and say, I need to see a full April before I'm comfortable with him as like a rosterable player as opposed to, a streamable guy?
Well, if you're going to wait that long, you're going to miss any buying opportunities. So I'd just say, yeah, if you're into Casey Mize, um, I mean, I think you're too late probably, but maybe not. I don't really see people freaking out about how good he is. I think I think there's people like me who've just like kind of seen the same old stuff. He feels like Forrest Whitley almost, where like it's like the most extreme form of prospect fatigue, where you're sitting here delivering good results, and I'm still like, nah,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
But if he keeps it up, eventually you're gonna force your way back into the hearts and minds of fantasy GMs.
That is my list of pitchers. I could, touch on a few others, but Jose Soriano has a really nice start, and then Jose Ramirez had ruined a start for him. We had Clay Holmes, who hasn't been terrible, right? When you think about what Michael King did last April in his transition to a starter, I think that's my takeaway on Clay Holmes. And other than those guys, not much to mention. Did you want to touch on any of those guys, or did you have anybody off the top of head that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, Chris Bubic, Chris
Good
Bubich.
call.
I like him. I liked him before. I've liked him for years. He started breaking out in like 2020. Was it 2 or 3? I don't know, but he started busting a slider out and really
I want to
taking
say
his
it was
game to the next.
2023
Yeah,
April, blows out the arm, comes back at last
yeah,
year's bullpen. Does that sound right?
that sounds right. Yeah, because it just feels like should have missed more of the time, but it was just he did it so early in the year that he was able to come back. Yeah, so in 23, it was looking like a breakout. The slider was really making things happen, and then it was just really annoying because I picked him up everywhere. I thought I had like my league winner guy, and he blew his arm out. And then he came back next year bullpen. This year, yeah, he's getting that starting shot, and so far not blowing his arm out. So that's like, it seems like he's really coming into his own. It's exciting to see. Um, some of my guys here. Let's look at Reese Olson. We got to see more. So like a small sample size. He seems like he's doing okay. Someone who I like was never really one of my guys, but I think is like underrated now. Yeah, I have him in like more leagues than I normally would. Kevin Gosman, like,
A really nice
dude,
start tonight.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, even look at the other stars. He hasn't had a whip over 0.75 in all 3 games. It's like almost just about.
Are you concerned about the strikeouts at all? I know that he hasn't been piling up the Ks as he has in past seasons. 10 tonight. There
Um,
we go. Question answered. 8 innings, 1 run, not earned, 10 strikeouts.
yeah, and also it's like if your whip's that good, man, I don't really care. Like, because the whip is a good indicator of how you're pitching, right? And so if you're just limiting walks and hits, and like if you're just pitching well, like I don't really care how you do it. But yeah, and of course, if you can throw in those 10 strikeouts on top of it, now I'm really interested. That's nice. So yeah, those are some guys. Who are some other pitchers? I've seen it early on here. I will say that
What did you
that
think of
good.
Shane Smith's start for the White Sox? I know it's the White Sox, but it, I've watched both of his starts. His changeup is filthy. Um, had a really nice outing this week. Had a okay outing in his first debut start. Any interest there, or is it because of team context? You're just like it doesn't matter.
I wasn't that excited to begin with. Although I do like what they're doing there, so I need to watch more of him to have a real opinion. But
Okay,
I want to talk about a guy who's like, I think he's just going to become this boring guy, Brandon Pfaadt. It's like, yeah, he's just gonna be that guy I like. Like his roster percentage is going down, but he's actively just becoming a quality start machine essentially, and he's on a good team, so he'll just grab wins. Yeah, I think Fott's gonna be a guy where, yeah, I think he's gonna be like really like your like not one of your best pitchers. Like you might have like a 4.08 ERA, but like a 1.09 WHIP and like 14 wins and a ton of quality starts. Like a oddly like okay, like yeah,
workhorse.
he's like yeah, just a workhorse, kind of boring guy. Not completely boring with the strikeouts, but yeah, pretty boring probably, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting. So funny how these guys, maybe that's not true, but that's how he's starting to feel for me. And it's a career, right? It's fine. It's is it inning eater? It's like a really good innings eater, I guess.
Well, and they just gave him the
No,
extension.
yeah, it's like it's a really fantasy relevant, I would say. Really fantasy relevant innings eater.
Yeah, I think the extension for me said a lot. They locked him up. I thought it was odd that they had him battle for the fifth rotational spot in spring. Maybe that was just managerial mental play, but having a really nice start. He's that depth that you talked about. Um, I'm watching Jackson Chourio just hit a 3-run home run here, and what makes me laugh is the 5 strikeout performance we saw on opening day. Right, and some of the instant gut reaction, which was, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." But we're a couple weeks in now, and Jackson Trio is now batting 327, and it's like, well, so much for his terrible opening day performance. I wanted to ask you next, being Wyatt Langford, the injury now, second injury this season, injury last year. Are you starting to get concerned at all that there might be an injury pattern here, or do you think that he's just had some soft tissue bad luck?
He needs to figure out this oblique situation because it's really frustrating. He's like about to break out, man. Like it was
The metrics
happening.
look great.
Well, the
Everything
metrics
looks
look great,
good.
and great, and so do the like surface stats. He's just smashing 4 bombs in the last, and stealing bases again. Like he was looking like he's putting it all together, and then does
Average
this. And
is
it's like
misleading. I've been playing around a little bit
it's
online, but
misleading.
it's very misleading. His walk and K percentages are fantastic.
No,
Bat
yeah,
speed's
he's
great. Everything looks good.
well, he needs to be careful, right? Because I mean, he's got way more pedigree, but Newt Bar, like I did not end up with a lot of shares of Newt Bar because he started to cool off last few games too. But glad Newt's breaking out. I like Newt. He's a really fun player. He's really productive. He's not stealing any bases this year, but he's the same kind of guy like where like he'll start showing like, oh my gosh, we're about to have this amazing breakout. He's going to become a fantasy star, and then it's always a oblique or a hamstring or something like that. And so these guys take better care of their bodies, I guess. I don't know what they can do, but Wyatt Langford, especially, it's like you can be a superstar, man. Well, it's just frustrating. This could be like a month absence.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got him in a number of leagues. You've got him in a number of leagues that hurts right now. So in regards to long term, you're not necessarily making any assumptions here. You just need to see how he comes back from this one. You're not putting him in
Well,
like a, possibly injury prone category yet.
no, think about his perspective. So he's probably the first time he's probably like, "Oh, it's just a stupid oblique injury," and then now he's probably thinking like us, like, oh, "Okay, now I'm about to be that guy. If I don't get on this, like, we have to like bring in a specialist." If he's not thinking that, then the Rangers are thinking that. So yeah, he's gonna be. They're gonna force. They're gonna make sure this guy stays healthy.
And I'm curious, the
Especially
the
with the
bat
oblique.
speed, he swings hard. We know that. We saw Tristan Casas break a rib last year. I would be curious to see if any of the oblique issues that he has is just mechanical, if there's some tweaks that they can make. But then again, do those tweaks change his game? I'm personally not overly concerned. It's just something I am monitoring, and it sounds like you're doing the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to mess with what we have here, but gotta find a way to keep him on the field.
All right, let's touch on a few minor league guys. Hopefully you have a couple guys in mind. Big one for me, Lazaro Montez starting the year in high A yet again. Had a great opening week, won minor league, high A division or conference, player of the week. Who cares? Just had a great week. 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, home run, triple, batting average is great. Everything's looking good. Should continue to see success because again, he's repeating high A. Any excitement more so or less for Lazaro Montez, or just not enough data on a lot of these guys yet?
Oh, I'm exhausted, but yeah, I would say that Montez is like I've been big on him for a while, and he's a pretty big dude himself. So yeah, I think just the coming out and hitting the ball is like putting some questions to rest, which is great. Like again, it's a long season; things could fall apart, but it's better for him to start off hot than to not,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Same with my guy would be like one of my guys would be Max Clark, or like we're like, yeah, we need to see like with Montez, the question is how often can he hit the ball? Max Clark is like how hard can you hit the ball? Can it get out of the park enough? Does he have that launch angle? And so just for him to hit even one home run real quick, like the first few games, it's like that helps. Thank you. And Durbin comes out and hits like 2 home runs in 3 games. It's like, okay, is this guy a 15 home run bat? Like, is this guy gonna Isaac Paredes it? Like, he's pulling the ball like crazy. This is not, Durbin is now like he did this. He's doing it now. He was doing it in spring training. He was doing it in Arizona Fall League last year. He was doing it in AAA last year. It's like we're starting to see a guy who can be really interesting. And I just totally took a Lazaro Montez hype train and derailed it into Durbin territory.
You definitely
We
did.
lost a full foot of height in the process.
Next name I want to talk about has fallen off pretty considerably, but Corey Lee had an injury today in the White Sox game. Looked like a jammed / sprained ankle, potentially break. It just happened 2 hours ago, so we don't know. The reason I'm bringing up Corey Lee's injury is because Kyle Teal isn't waiting. He's at AAA, 2 home runs, batting 190. Like I said, he had a nicer start to the year. It's kind of fallen off. Are you targeting Kyle Teal in redraft if you are in, a bad territory with catcher? If he gets the call for Corey Lee, is Teal a priority for you?
It's not a priority. I think I don't know if he's necessarily like a dynamo bat as much as he is like just a quality. Maybe maybe his peak is Logan O'Hoppe.
It's a nice
He's
peak
just
last
like
week. Okay, Joey Bart's on the wire. Teal gets called up tomorrow. Who would you rather have as your starting catcher?
I think it's not sexy, but Joey Bart,
Okay.
and to win right now. But you have to remember that Edgar Cuero he's actually hitting pretty well to start the year. And looking at he's got 5 starts at catcher, 4
Okay.
DH starts. Kyle Teal. See what they're doing with these guys. This is actually interesting to note. Teal has 5 catcher starts, 5 DH, so they're kind of splitting them
Splitting them up.
pretty even. They're letting them battle it out. Interesting.
Roman Anthony, 25% walk rate, 34% strikeout rate, 2 home runs, 167 batting average. 20 years old at AAA. Probably not getting the call anytime soon with those numbers, right?
I mean, if he hits 3 home runs in 3 games, the next 3 days, we're not saying that. So it's just that's how fast things can turn
No, you're
around
not
in
wrong.
a small sample size, right? It's funny, man. Like Mason Wynn, everyone was calling like, "Oh, remember when he was cool? No, he's a loser. He's done." It's like okay, they started ripping the ball again. So it can turn around real quick for anyone, right?
Next injury concern question. Basayo is out with a hamstring, was out with the
Wow,
elbow
I
last
didn't know
year.
that.
We're starting to rack up some injuries on this big kid. I'm monitoring, getting very slightly worried. Maybe a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. So I think this is something to monitor. Where are you at out of 10 on just like this might be something that becomes a problem?
I mean, let me look at how many what he's been doing. I don't feel like he's been at, like Emmanuel Rodriguez level.
No, he's played through the elbow, which has been a
Yeah, he
problem. And
played. He played like yeah. He did 127 games last year. He did 114 the year before that. And they don't play that as many games in the minor leagues. So he gave us pretty good seasons. So now I'm not super worried. It's
okay,
annoying because he hit 2 home runs early on, like he was looking solid. So yeah, we'll see. Not really concerned at this point, but yeah, you want to watch those things because little nagging injuries can cost you development time and just delay things even further. And of course, we can see with Baltimore, please do not give Baltimore any reason to delay your promotion.
Jack Caglione. I know don't want to touch too much on Kegs just because of the prospect pedigree. 18% walk rate, 18% strikeout rate, 22 plate appearances, 2 home runs, Ben 375, 455 OBP, just crushing it. Do you think we see him this season?
I think there's like if the Royals are doing well, I think they will. If they do well and they're on the verge of playoffs or they're making playoffs and he's just absolutely making the minor leagues look stupid, or even if he's just like playing okay enough, but we know how strong he is and he's not floundering, and they have some critical, like if Vinny goes down, or like if some of their big bats, I mean, they don't have a ton of depth with their bats. They have good bats, but they don't have a ton of depth. Like you lose a Vinny, like God forbid you lose a Bobby Witt. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're like, let's just say like right around playoff time, one of their star hitters, gets banged up, bring him up. I mean, even if some of these like lesser star, like I mean, who are their top bats, right? It's like Jonathan India or Sal Perez, Michael Madison is
Bobby,
doing well, but yeah, Bobby, but yeah, Michael Garcia has been starting off hot. It's like actually not like a super deep group
yeah.
still. So I mean, frankly, I mean, I'm not like I wonder, are they giving him any time in the outfield? Like I would
Well,
put him in right.
take a look at some of those, and then that kind of follows it up with, I think we're completely out of the two-way now, right? There has been no conversation to him pitching. He has no pitching
No.
statistics. Like he is now a first baseman, but they never fully came out and said he's just going to be a first baseman, correct? Like we just have to make that assumption that, much like Eldridge after the draft, they've made a decision. He's a first baseman, correct?
It's probably a situation, or it could be a situation where Jack said, I want to pitch. And they said no. And they said, don't do what Bryce Eldridge did and go to the media. Because, yeah, I mean, I think that's what I mean. I don't remember exactly. Maybe I got that wrong, but I know that eventually in an interview, Bryce was
It
like,
came
"Yeah,
out.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, it came out." Like it just came out in general, and so so even if it was the GM at the time, who did that, Kansas City's clearly keeping it under wraps. But that just it indicates to me that the player. Listen, let's just use our brains, dude. I'm just getting sleepy over here, but our brains. These are competitive athletes. They're young kids. You think they want to be like, oh yeah, man, I'm actually not that good at pitching. Like, yeah, just take that thing I love doing away from me. It's like, like
Well,
they
and
want to be the next Otani.
I'm curious too if maybe there was nothing said because they genuinely were like, "Hey, focus on hitting. Like, let's see what you are as a hitter." And from an organization, they're like, "Well, if he's crappy, right? If the discipline goes or he's striking out 35% of the time, maybe we reassess letting him pitch
No,
and
he's
hit."
not. He wasn't that good. He wasn't as good at like Eldridge was actually like really good at pitching. He was supposed to be a pitching
Yeah,
prospect
Kegs
coming into
was
his
a
draft year.
college pitcher. Like,
He was okay. Yeah,
yeah,
he was
yeah,
fine.
he was
Maybe a
better than
reliever or
probably
something.
average, but not,
Yeah.
yeah, not ace. Those are all the names I had. Were there any other minor leaguers that you wanted to touch on?
Yes, like a lot of my guys are doing well. Thomas White's doing well. Some deep league. I mean, some like the Missouri catchers are doing fine. Carter Jensen, Jimmy Crooks. They're doing what they did last year. Pretty fun. I just kind of I checked in on some guys who I already like, so nothing like no revelations here. But Callan Moss, Joseph Sullivan, Carter Fredericks. I'm like, deep cuts here. It's just like real.
What's
I just jumped like
what is Moss doing? I didn't get a chance to look before we jumped on.
Callan Moss is like just like he's just hitting the ball, like getting like 300 average, 400 OBP, like just in a very small sample size. They're doing what they're supposed what you'd like them to be doing in a small sample size.
Good.
So not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But with Carter Frederick, he's like 6'4", 235, and he stole 5 bases in 3 games or something like that. And no home runs. Well, I'm confident with that size. There's power in there somewhere. So he's got like a 400.
This
OBP.
was the kid that you were telling me that went through some personal matters, drafted in the 20th round.
Yeah.
You know, this is the guy, right? In high A.
Yeah, Jeff Ponce put me onto him when I was talking about Callan Moss.
Okay.
Yeah, so he went through like the worst, basically the worst things you could imagine personally in the last like little while. So he's back, and he's playing baseball, and the Royals seem to be developing players a little better than before, especially arms. But maybe I mean, give them some credit for Witt and Pasquantino. They didn't mess them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did something.
Last name I wanted to mention, Eric Hartman. Weirdly enough, same round as Frederick, as you had just mentioned. Outfielder, Braves, 18 years old, in Carolina. So A ball, 2 home runs, 300 average. Only guy that I've come across so far this very, very short sample minor league season where I'm like, that might be a nice little hit. So in most deep dynasty leagues, I've been either attempting to add him or watching other people outbid me for him. But again, short sample size, like you said, good to see these guys performing. If not too much to be alarmed with. Anything else today, Doc?
I mean, I think I'm gonna pass out if we do any longer, man. But no matter what we do with this podcast, folks, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be this, but better. Where I'm not gonna be wanting to pass out throughout the podcast. But no, we're gonna be great. It's gonna be Matt and I. We're gonna be just talking baseball, and we're gonna be doing a little. We're gonna be. What did we just do, folks? We talked about everything. We talked about redraft. We talked about winning in dynasty. We went and then we went for some deep dynasty plays. So if you want a well-rounded baseball experience, come to us. Stick with us here on Doc Stingers featuring Matt Morris. Doc Stingers featuring Matt Morris.
I kind of like it. It gives us both the spotlight, but your name will have the big letters and mine will be really almost unreadable underneath, where it's like black lettering mixed.
It's like a
background.
70s rock band.
Yeah.
Destined for either extreme success or immense
complete failure. All right, well, why don't you say goodbye so we can get you to bed?
All right, I'm your Huckleberry.
See you guys next week. Bye.